Hello, everybody. Hello. How are we doing? How are we doing tonight? Arch, Duality, Lunar, Skitty, Ellipti. I know Sino's here too. Oh, this is the wrong fanfiction. Hold on. Hold on. Hi, Lily. This is the wrong fic. Oops. We're on chapter 26. This is, yep, this is the right one. There we go. Yes, it's funny, Unda was talking about YWP in one of the Discord channels, and so I was thinking about it. And when I type in, for some reason, if I start typing in, what was I typing in? I was typing in something, and for some reason YWDMP was like, if I think I just type unda in my search, but YWDMP and Alternate Universe both show up as links like right next to each other, and I think I just clicked the wrong one. I'm good. I finished watching a new season of my show, and I've been trying to get work done, but I can't stop thinking about how the season ended. What show? I finished a book series full of people with something wrong with them. Nice. What book series? I'm so curious. I love details. I have had a pretty great day today. I cut it close because I finished running. Shadow and Bone Season 2. Listen, I'm going to be starting it soon with some friends. We're all going to be watching it together, so I'm not going to be able to watch ahead. And Lock Tomb. I was wondering if you were gonna mention Lock Tomb, because that's the first thing that I thought of. Also, a book series I haven't started, but everybody's recommended me to read. I'm told I saw a tweet somewhere that was like, it's like and now I don't know if this is true, right? This is just the tweet that I saw. So if this is a misinterpretation or a bad explanation of it, then that's on the person who tweeted, not me. But they were like, yeah, the Locked Tomb is Dave Cat, but if they were lesbians. And I was like, oh. Okay. So I was curious. I was like, maybe I'll check. I'm gonna check it out. I've been mental illnessing for The Walking Dead all day. Interesting. What like the TV show or like the comics, the video game? For me, sad bits of my day are mostly just baking gone wrong. Aw, that sucks, Lifty. It is not Dave Cat? Okay. But it is also very pitch, and it has hurt me. Listen, I'll take that too, to be fair. I will take that. I will take anything that is a fucking, essentially a pitch romance. I've been recommended it a lot, so I'm probably going to check it out at some point. I'm just waiting for a good time. And by a good time, I mean when I'm not reading a bajillion Homestuck fanfictions. Daryl is my blurbo. He is so Dave Code, it's not even funny. I haven't seen the Walking Dead TV show. Maybe I would check it out at some point. I've been so, after Last of Us, I'm like, my brain has been all apocalypse stuff here and there. I started writing just a little mini Dave Cat fic that was like post-apocalyptic. No, I didn't get crazy far, but it's been spinning in my head a little bit. The idea of like the whole concept is that obviously I make Bro, Dirk, Dave, and Hal are all different guys. Hal's obviously still AI or whatever. But the idea that the apocalypse happens and Dirk is like super paranoid, or not Dirk, Bro is super paranoid and has like a bunker that they all go into, and they end up being in there for like, a fucking year or something like that, where they all have to share the same space, and then they come out. And the world has, whatever apocalypse happens. I'm not specific on details because I just want to get to the Dave Cat stuff. And Dave goes on this, he gets sent on these like missions to retrieve things, and he goes to a storage, one of those like storage units, and comes across Carcat is like trying to, retrieve something, and he meets him there, and they have kind of an interesting meeting, and by interesting, I mean that Dave Dave holds Carcat at gunpoint and is like, "You're gonna hand over the stuff that you were gonna retrieve because I want it now, and we're never gonna meet again." And then they're gonna meet again, and then they're gonna, fall in love at some point. But so it was swirling in my mind. I wrote like, I don't know, 3K words. And it's just been kind of sitting in my whips folder. I have so many of these like little whips that I start and then I never finish. That's just like little ideas that will never get posted anywhere, but they can just sit in my mind. They're just a little way of me thinking about it. Oh, it's good you said earlier. You mentioned it earlier, but a non-Homestuck friend started reading AU. Let's go, another one in the pit. Another one in the pit. Let's go. Honestly, it's a great introduction for people who don't know Homestuck. To be fair, it's not even really an introduction to Homestuck. It's just an introduction to Undefix and DSK. Also, I started writing my fic that I'm going to try to have out by 4/13. Try is the word. Hey, trying is better than nothing. Seriously. I really wanted to have something prepared for 4/13. Like, I had this, and this was months ago. When I first started reading Homestuck, or when I finished Homestuck, I was like, oh, I'm going to have a big animation, like, and I'm going to do it all and get it all ready for 4/13. Oh, there's no way. I haven't started anything. I have no plans. Maybe I'll do some sort of illustration, but it won't be a big thing. I can't make it a big thing. I have all these other things that I'm planning. Mostly personal things, but also just school stuff. Once I graduate, I have so much I want to work on. Yeah, he started, and I was immediately like, wait, he's gonna hate Solix's typing quirk. I'm gonna have to make an accessible version for him. Oh, yes, the typing quirks are hard to read. They were hard to read when I first started reading. Terezi's typing quirk was a nightmare for me to start, or for me to read, especially because I was reading out loud with a friend. But you get used to it after a while. But if it's like an accessibility thing, then yeah, it can be tough. Hi, Crenshaw. Possessing my friends to read a different series that has possessed my brain since December, and I think after I absorb Homestuck content enough to know what's going on, I'll start possessing them with some Homestuck too. Hell yeah. I was homestucking for an hour in Sneak Snack's chat last night and convinced someone to read. To be fair, if you're a Sneak viewer and you haven't seen Homestuck, I would be surprised. I feel like Sneak Snack viewers are like, it's like, I feel like there's a Venn diagram and there's not that much outside the bubble. You know what I mean? But it overlaps a lot. There's a lot of overlap there. Okay, we should get started soon. I'm just taking my time. Oh, my bone's all cracking. Yeah. Homestucking all over the place. It's funny, I have a, actually, I'm not gonna say, because this is gonna be a surprise probably for a friend, so I can't say. But, yeah, I won't say it, actually, because I don't know if they'll be watching these VODs later. But I have some ideas that I want to do for animatics. There's a few songs, in fact, actually, I can show this. Oh, wait, maybe, hold on. Let me see, how can I do this? I have a projects idea thing. Can I show this? Yeah. me do it this way. Oh, shoot. What I wanted to do. Okay. How do I do this? I want to do this a different way, actually. Oh, not my Steam account. I didn't mean to pull that up. Ah! I'm all over the place. Oh my god, close. Okay, this is what I meant. I have this, I have a personal art, like, checklist thing. These are just a couple. I had, like, of animatic ideas that I had. Note how many of them are underrelated. And I've added more to this in my head. I've added so many more to this in my head. I have illnesses. I have so many illnesses. Like, on here I don't have A Good Song Never Dies, which I associate with what do you call it? So we don't kill the ones we love. And then I have the Hadaka no Yusha anime opening that I wanted to do for Ultra Universe that is still on my backlog that I would love to do. Oh, Fungus is the name. All these are names of songs. I didn't put the artists because I knew the songs I know in my head. But these are all the names of different songs. Fungus is made by... What's the artist's name? Hold on. Fungus by The Narcissist's Cookbook. It's a very specific type of vibe for a song. But I like it a lot. So, yeah. So these are all song titles. But I have more in my head. I just... I have a lot and I don't. I can't. I have so many. I need to just pick one and do it. So yeah, all right, let's get started with the summary. We're gonna do a full summary because, which is gonna be funny because there was quite a bit this last chapter. We're gonna do a full summary because it was weekend, so I always do a full summary for the previous chapter when it was weekend day. So for chapter 25, here we go. All right, see ya, Arch. Have a lovely rest of your night. Okay. So, the twins and Solux, and then also, like, Terezi's there. They're all back at the Lalonde house with the little hummingbird car cat. And Dave is like, hey, why don't we not tell anybody so we can go to June's house and we can surprise June with it? And Solux is like, is that a good idea? And Rose is like, I don't know if that's a good idea. And Dave's like, trust me, it's gonna be so funny. So they're like, all right. But they don't do that yet. Before they go, Rose like catches car cat up on some things. Even as a little hummingbird, he can still like hear things and understand them. He just can't speak, obviously. The group then decides to use Solux's car that he has in his little void space, and they go head to June's house. Mr. Egbert answers the door, and he's like, hey guys, June is sick. But June peeks out and is like, no, they can come in. And Dave, like, quote unquote, surprises her with, little bird car cat. But June doesn't really find the joke funny and is kind of offended that they kind of kept it from them. And so Dave has to kind of apologize, and they kind of quickly backpedal. And they end up just kind of hanging out with June, and everything, ties over fine. And like Rose notices like the strange kind of businessman that they've seen at the Half Harley Manor, stuff like that, like around the Egbert house. Doesn't really know what to do with it. She just kind of sneaks around and makes sure she doesn't get seen, but she notices them. Rose talks to Kanaya about Carcat. And Kanaya's like, I need to make this little bird a little bird sweater. And Rose is like, fuck yes, please make him a little bird sweater. And Rose has a dream, and she dreams about like a Build-A-Boy workshop with there's two different little puppets, and one of them is kind of this like glassy-eyed, like noodly puppet that gets like a shard stuffed into him. And then there's like this other like worn out doll that has like 4 shiny eyes and, you know, 2 red, 2 blue. And as Rose is like grabbing the worn out doll, she looks back at the other doll, and it's getting this giant blue heart like stuffed into it. And then she like wakes up and she's super scared and she's freaking out about it. But she just assumes it's like a nightmare and nothing like visionary. Solix like comes in to check on her because she was screaming. And they kind of bounce, you know, conversation back and forth, but eventually Solix brings up like, hey, like essentially like you're waxing pale for Karkat, or like you two are waxing pale. And Rose is like, oh, excuse me, I'm a lesbian. And Solix is like, well, demon romance is like kind of weird and like complicated, and also it's not a concupiscent relationship, like it's conciliatory, so it's a little bit different maybe. And Rose is like, not super comfortable with that, or with those implications. And Solix is like, okay, listen, I'm not trying to push, I'm not trying to be a dick and insist, but just think about it. And Rose is like, okay, whatever. Rose then decides to do some homework the next day, and as she's like messing with her stuff, she changes the tether out of curiosity to the kind of little windy symbol, or the wavy symbol that she's seen on the storm god that they've been researching. And she notices that the spell actually catches, which means that the god, it's holy magic, and she's able to do it. And she's like, whoa, what the hell? Tells Kanaya about it, and Kanaya's like, holy shit. She then goes to ask Terezi stuff. And Terezi is like, you're asking shitty questions. Ask me a good question, I'll actually answer you. And eventually Rose starts asking some good questions, and she kind of ends up learning more about how the sunlight is maybe the source for her visions that she's been getting, or at least whenever she sleeps in sunlight, she seems to be getting them. And also, Terezi confirms that the storm deity is not the only god who avoided being locked away in the event. Rose then gets the bird sweater from Kanaya from a little package that she gets, and they all take, you know, they have some time, take pictures of Karkat and stuff like that. While Rose is texting Kanaya, Karkat gets an opportunity to kind of essentially talk back and forth with Kanaya by using Rose as kind of a translator with like yes or no questions. And Kanaya apologizes for what happened with Porum, with her mother, and Karkat is, you know, forgives her completely, doesn't blame her for anything, accepts her apology. At a later point, Karkat like quote unquote like levels up again as he, you know, goes into a bigger form. He's getting stronger. He becomes a little white parrot. Rose tries to ask her mom about how to identify gods, and her mom doesn't have a ton of information for her, or at least they get distracted as Karkat once again transforms into a white peacock. After that, Rose lays down in the sun and tries to receive a vision, and she ends up like focusing on the storm god to see if she can get information related to that. And she gets a vision of Solux, presumably, that's the word, in the past, blowing up, retrieving things from a temple before blowing it up, and due to the explosion, avalanche triggers over a town, and Solix uses his magic to stop it. And Rose immediately wakes up, and she goes searching online to figure out where that avalanche was. She ends up locating it was like a city in Iceland. She talks to Kanaya about it, and they start to do like a further deep dive of the gods. In the dream or in the vision, she saw the full version of the rug that they had seen in Solux's void space, and it depicted both like a storm god, like a male storm god, but also like some like maybe like a female version, like side by side. And so she's kind of researching like dual gender motifs and trying to kind of focus down, but there's still just so much information, and she can't siphon through everything. Rose is then also distracted from her research by Dave, who points out that there is now a giant white ostrich in the kitchen, but it's only for a moment before Karkat once again glows and suddenly reshapes into his human form. Solix and Dave are like super excited and ecstatic, but all Rose can focus on are like the darkening storm clouds above her, and it makes her feel uncomfortably watched. And that's like the last line of the previous chapter. So that's the whole chapter. Got a lot of stuff, but essentially Karkat's back, and we are now back in his POV. So here we go. I'm gonna adjust. I think the music's at a decent volume, and by decent volume, I mean it's pretty much inaudible, which is good. Maybe I'll make it a little more audible. Okay, I think that's good. All right. We are going to now hop in. Lifty, I will not be answering. We will just have to see. Alright. Here we go. Chapter 26. I would. Okay. Here we go. Your name is Karkat Vantus. A name that you can now finally say out loud. You don't think you've ever appreciated not being a bird as much as you do right now? Think of all those foolish hours that you weren't grateful to not be a bird. What carefree, halcyon days those were. Not like now. Now you are filled with the crushing awareness that at any moment you could be hurt badly enough to be stuck as a bird again. The bird of Damocles hanging above your head forevermore. Are you just going to lay there dramatically in a pile of feathers for the rest of the day, or do you have any other plans? Rose eventually asks you, leaning over you and blocking out your view of the gray clouds above you. Maybe that is my plan. Perhaps my plan is to lay here, reasonably processing what happened to me in a way that could not possibly ever be described as dramatic, you retort. You do everything dramatically, Solix snickers. You push yourself up onto your elbows and focus on pulling your wings back into wherever so they're not dragging you down. With that done, you lift one hand and point it right at Solux with the appropriate amount of glare on your face, which is to say, a lot. Don't think that my lack of a beak will deter me from biting you, you warn him. Solux's expression shifts into something more suggestive. No, stop that. Stop being into it. It's not a threat if you're into it, you grumble. That's his secret power to diffuse all of your threats, although maybe not. You're pretty creative with those, Dave says thoughtfully. Okay, I want out of this conversation more than I want to appropriately and not at all dramatically express my feelings. Get off my legs, you say, and manage to pull one leg out from under Solux and use it to shove him off of you. Also, what the fuck am I wearing? You demand, gesturing to your entire body. Jesus Christ, this thing stops partway up your chest for no understandable reason at all. It's not as if it's to let your wings out. It's higher than them. Also, you have a cape? What the fuck? Be glad you have clothes on at all. I was slightly worried that the only clothes we'd have for you would be something of Dave's, or your bird sweater, Rose remarks lightly. You will not speak of the sweater. Honestly, the things you do to help your friend talk to her crush. If you weren't already an angel, you should be sainted for that. We should probably go inside and talk now, that's a thing you can do, Dave suggests. Yeah, okay, as long as your mom is going to be okay with me being here, you say somewhat warily. She's perfectly fine with a sun menagerie of birds in her house. I think she'd be cool with you as you are now, Dave says with a shrug. He leads you back towards the house. Rose goes along after glaring up at the sky for some reason. Solux, however, lingers behind a little. Hey, he says quietly, making you pause. You stop and look at him. He's looking away even though his body is turned to face you. About the bookcase thing, he starts. No, it's fine. It was an accident, and I woke you up anyway, you assure him. You thought you'd made your opinion on his guilt perfectly clear before. He clearly hadn't meant to hurt you, and actually it worked out in your favor anyway. You should be able to wake me up without being afraid that I'm going to throw you into furniture, Solix says a little sharply. You're not afraid of him. He can't think you are, can he? I'm your kismesis. I know there's a certain amount of hurt that goes into that because pitchness, but I care about you, and I've said this before, but if someone cares about you, they don't do shit like that. It doesn't matter if their motives are to make you better or whatever. It's not right. Solix snaps. This isn't about you. It's very plainly not about you. You weren't doing it because of any of that, though. It was just an accident. I'm not saying I had it coming or it was my fault for waking you up. They're just a dumb accident, and I'm fine now. There's no harm, no foul, really, you assure him. Solix nods a little numbly, and then he freezes, his mouth taking up in a smile. No harm, no foul, he asks, with a dangerously wide grin. Oh, you wish you'd been able to study that recording of I Hate You and Demonic more, but you're not quite there yet, and you want it to be perfect. This would have been a great moment, though. Think of something else to say. Your hand goes to the pocket that you don't have, and then to your wrist where your phone charm isn't anymore. What? Solix asks, looking at you a little like you might have lost your mind. The police have my phone and laptop, you start. We'll replace anything, Solix assures you. That's nice and starting to form a worrying pattern, but I'm not concerned about that right now. I'm trying to remember if I backed up everything recently. You continue. Your emails will be. Anything that you sent to anyone, they can send you back, and you'd be surprised what your browser history remembers. If you lose a few photos of things you ate or whatever, then so what? Solix says with a shrug. It wasn't that. It was a video when it's important, you tell him, and regret it as Solix perks up with interest. Of what? He asks. It doesn't matter now. I'll get into my account and restore whatever, and just hope it's there, you mutter, and start walking towards the house again. Hey, no, what was it? Solix prods you. If only you'd kept your mouth shut, because you're absolutely not telling him about the video of you speaking in demonic. Not yet, anyway. Not telling you, you sigh. You could tell me, Solix points out, following you closely. I could. I won't, you say, and open the door. I can drive you crazy until you tell me. You wouldn't believe how irritating it can be, Solix says and shoves the door shut. I absolutely believe you, but this is still no, you say and pull the door open. Solix isn't letting this, or the door, go. The pair of you go through a few rounds of tell me and no before you finally come out with something that you think will get you somewhere. I'm going to erase all your video game saves, you threaten. Solix looks suitably horrified at that prospect, and you take the chance to wrench the door open and march back into the house. Rose and Dave are already in the main room on the sofa. You guess they didn't need to stand outside waiting for you. In fairness, Solix had started with a sincere thought that really did benefit from being expressed in private, but then he went on and was an asshat, like normal. You take a seat on the sofa, and Solix sits on the raised fireplace in the middle of the room, uncaring about his tails occasionally swiping through the flames. So you got kidnapped, Dave starts. Again, Rose adds. At this point, I'm starting to think the universe has it out for me, you sigh in agreement. You remember the things I told you before when you were a bird? Or should we just start at the beginning again? Rose asks. No, I remember, you answer her. Now that you're sat down, everything feels so heavy. Your limbs weigh down into the sofa, and gravity of everything that's happened to you drags you deeper into the furniture. Even trying to put it in order by starting at the beginning hurts. You start with Aridin, and Aridin, is he really dead? I mean, I'm not saying I think you were lying or anything, Rose, but I just can't wrap my mind around it, you ask her. You hope that Solix will explain something like, no, he's not dead, he's just, what, gone somewhere? He's dead, and I won't be shedding a tear over it, Rose says, her voice like steel. I'm kind of responsible, seeing as I launched a skateboard through his maker's chest and killed them both, Dave says quietly. You didn't know it was an accident. Even Aridin didn't know that it'd take him out too, Solix reassures him. But he's really dead? You ask again. Carcat, he betrayed you. He sold you out to his maker, Rose protests. I know, but we don't know what he was compelled to do or not, and I can't ask him now. We were friends, or I thought we were, at least until he made things weird and acted like an asshole, you tell her. He was always nice to you before. You enjoyed his company, even if he could be a little annoying sometimes, but who isn't? You understand why he didn't tell you what he was. After all, you didn't tell him either. The idea of him hurting that man still makes you angry, and you intend to find out how he's doing as soon as you can. Still, it seemed like an exceptional circumstance. You don't think he goes around acting like that all the time. Did he really deserve to die for that? Something of your feelings must show on your face, because Rose's expression continues to sour. I'm going to go tell Mother. Oops. Shit, sorry. Where was I? Fuck. I'm going to go tell Mother that your usual self again. That your usual self again instead of a bird, Rose says, and leaves before you can say anything. I think I should go damage control that impending disaster. BRB. Dave says and hurries after her. You watch the both of them leave, Dave walking quickly to catch up with his twin, who you know all too well can really cover ground fast with an angry stride. You know you should be pissed at Aridin, livid at him for betraying you, but you feel emotionally tapped out. All you can muster is sadness. She'll cool off. Here, Solix says quietly and hands you a strip of paper. Wait, is this Aridin? You ask him. Yeah, or what's left of him. I don't know what angels do with dead angels. Demons just burn what's left, so I didn't think about it when we left Kenkri to go up in flames in his apartment. Though, I guess it's not like you remember either. Whatever. It's your choice what you want to do with him. Solix shrugs. You look down at the folded strip of paper in your hands. You could open it, but you don't know what's inside. But you don't know what that'd risk. Besides, seeing the core of Aridin feels like way too personal. How come you're not mad? You ask as you look up at Solix, who's just watching you calmly. Solix does kind of a half shrug again with one shoulder, which tells you absolutely nothing. Thankfully, he elaborates. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a fan of the guy, but I'm sure shit not sad he's dead. I'm pissed that he stabbed you in the back like that, but given that he's dead and used his last breath to ask me to apologize to you, I'm kind of neutral on the subject. Besides, I know what you're like, he says. Aridin's dying words were an apology to you? Oh, yeah, now you're just really sad about the whole thing. There's something else, though. What? You know what I'm like? What's that supposed to mean, huh? You ask him skeptically. Solix sighs and rolls his eyes. I know you. I don't know him, but I can see how that played out. You were just friends before. He thought you were real close, which you weren't. That tells me that you were always nice to him because of what you're like with people. So you were at least friends. You also have this horrible habit of forgiving people who don't deserve it and entirely overlooking signs of danger. I'd bet anything you've forgiven him for stuff in the past, so I'm not surprised that you're not holding a grudge now. You'd forgive someone if they stabbed you. Solix snorts. You're about to protest when you remember that one dream you had after Halloween. You'd put it down as a guilt thing, but now you're not so sure. I think I remember something about that, you say slowly. About Aridin? Solix asks, obviously surprised. No, I thought it was just a dream. I mean, I was dreaming, but I think it might have been a memory, you tell him. Go on, Solix prompts you. I was walking along a road by the woods one night, and it was completely dark, you begin. If this is going to end up with Shia LaBeouf, then it was a dream from a song, especially if he's a cannibal. Solix interrupts you with an irritating grin. No, it wasn't. I wish I could revoke your talking privileges sometimes. I was walking along looking for someone, and I came across this car, this sort of red muscle car, like from classic era American movies. Only no one was in it, and clearly whoever had been left in a hurry. So I went down into the woods looking for whoever I was looking for, and then you were there, ominously waiting all crouched and glowing in the dark, and then you stabbed me through the chest. This was right after we'd kissed at Halloween, and it had gone oh so well, so I thought it was guilt, but I'm not sure. Was it? You ask. Solix looks away from you, his face a little uncomfortable. Like I said, you give people way too many chances when they've shown you that they mean you harm. I can't really complain about Aridin when I was benefited from that same trait of yours, he says quietly. So it wasn't a dream, you ask in surprise. Nope. First time we met, Solix says and looks at you again. You think he might look a little sentimental. Why did you attack me? Or, I guess it was the angel thing, right? You thought I was there to hurt you or smite you, you guess. He nods. Can't really blame you. You shrug. Your side aren't strictly the good guys, are they? I stabbed you in the chest. Yeah, I was doing it to protect me and my maker because your side is dangerous, but you got your body destroyed. And was like, I guess I'll just keep doing this, even though it kept happening. You're an idiot with no sense of self-preservation with people, Solix accuses you. You stand up and lean towards Solix with a smile, kind of bagging him into the fireplace a bit. Not that it's of any harm to either of you. I think that kind of worked out for both of us, though, right? You point out. You have poor judgment and terrible taste, Solix mutters, looking away. You take the chance to kiss him on the cheek, delighting in the startled squawk of indignation. Dave comes in the room again just as you're sitting down once more, having properly ruffled Solix. I am not getting in the middle of that, Dave says and hurries back towards you. Me and him? Solix says in surprise. No, Mom and Rose. Rose is pissy and ended up picking a fight with Mom just to have someone to argue with, and nope. Hashtag nope, Dave says, and you can hear him misspelling it ironically. Dave jumps over the back of the sofa and sits down next to you. Is she mad at me? You ask, with worry building in your gut. Nah, I think she's just pissed that you're not as angry at him as she is, because if she's angrier, then it, I don't know, says bad things. Dave shrugs. Oh, it says something alright, Solix mutters, but he doesn't seem inclined to explain what he means. At least Dave seems just as lost. That makes you feel a little less dumb, at least. So you were on the moon, then? Rose said that she was sneaking in on your vision there every now and then. What was that like? Dave asks, moving on from whatever Solix was alluding to. Well, I wasn't aware that she was doing that at the time, so it's a little disconcerting. She did tell me that she saw me when I was a bird, or she did tell me what she saw when I was a bird, so I know she didn't see me doing anything weird like having a shower up there or whatever, you say. Honestly, the idea that Rose could be watching you at any time is a little weird, but you know she wouldn't go looking if you hadn't been literally kidnapped. Your privacy is pretty safe. The idea of someone watching me without knowing is just... Dave shudders visibly, and Solix's expression morphs into one of concern. But, I guess you're the only person who's ever showered on the moon, Dave says quickly, in an effort to distract himself. Pretty sure the astronauts at least were doing that, and tomorrow, you point out. You're not sure about Scratch or the Felt. You're not sure how physically real any of them are. You'd also not picture any of them naked in the shower. Although, now that you think that, the image of Scratch with a shower cap over part of his cue ball head is an image that's going to be stuck in your brain for the rest of eternity. So, aside from moon showers, that sounds like a euphemism, but I'm not sure for what. What was the moon like? Dave rambles towards something approximating a question once more. Confusingly green, you answer. That's just his domain. The actual moon itself is just normal moon color. Solix says casually, as if this is something everyone should know. It wasn't fun. I'm not going back if I can help it, you say, at a loss for what else to tell Dave. Gonna leave a bad Yelp review, 0 out of 5 stars, staff were rude, and although I stole the complimentary astronauts, I would not return, Dave suggests. Let's maybe not tip the government off that you were the one who brought them back, yeah? Solix sighs. You didn't have to do that to them, you know? They weren't going to tell anyone after I rescued them, you say with a frown. Oh, yeah, those government military officers, when recovered, won't say a thing about you. Sure, dumbass, you're welcome. Solix snorts. You shake your head. He's impossible. What did the guy even want with you? No offense. That sounded weirdly demeaning, which isn't what I was going for, Dave says. He was talking about some demon clown that he says I should stay away from, although I'm not sure I trust him, and Damara said to do the opposite and kill the guy to free her. You tell him. Wait, what? What? Demon clown? Rose didn't mention that, Solix says, looking a little more than a little alarmed. Yes, and demon clown is the worst 2-word phrase, I think. You agree? Yeah, it's something alright, Solix says, his voice going a little higher and tighter. Are you okay? Dave asks warily. Yeah, for sure. I need to go. Solix squeaks and vanishes. That's concerning, Dave says after a moment. Really? Whatever could be concerning about that? I entirely bought his statement that nothing at all was wrong, and I am 100% reassured. The only way I could be more laid back about this statement is if somebody snapped my spine over their knee, and I was forced to recover in bed for a year, you say flatly. I am as sold on this legitimate product as that dude who bought the fake bridge was, just handing over money for sweet fuck all. That's how convinced I am. Dave agrees. You slump down a little further on the sofa morosely, pulling your stupid booted feet up on the sofa, and then realize that you're being rude, so you take them down. I need to get some new goddamn clothes. I look like a particularly niche stripper turned superhero, you complain, and gesture to your entire getup. I don't know. I think skin type, strapless, black, whatever material that is, looks pretty cool on you, Dave says, and what you think passes for seductive with him. I think you need to get your eyes tested is what I think, you mutter. Dave slides his shades down to his nose and looks at you over the top of them, and damn do you hate him doing that. And damn do you hate that him doing that makes your pulse leap. That's the thing. He does seem to actually be into you for some unknown reason. He's legitimately not lying. Hell, you've kissed him on this couch before. You really shouldn't have thought of that. I have no idea what you see in me, you admit, not looking at Dave, but at your knees. Car cat, Dave says quietly, almost concerned in his tone. I'm this weird supernatural disaster from a species that isn't great, and I keep getting in trouble, and just spent a week as a bird. Now I'm like this, and you flail your hands around as a general expression of your entire being. Dave hums, and what you can tell without even looking at him is faux thoughtfulness. He taps you on the shoulder, and you look around, only for him to kiss you before you can react. He pulls back before you can even think to do anything, and then smiles at you. I like you plenty, and I'm real glad that you're back and safe now, okay? Dave says in a low voice that means you only process the way he sounds, and not a damn thing he said. You could ask him to say whatever he just said again, but you are dating him, an example of shockingly poor judgment on his part, so you can just kiss him instead. You kiss him because he's so genuinely lovely, because he carried you around when you were a bird and still talked to you, because he kept looking for you. You like him so badly. The thing is, when you kiss him, he kisses you back, his hand in your stupid cape thing, and yours just touching his fluffy white hair with your fingertips as the rest of your hands hold the side of your face. It feels like you've done this so many times. Like it's not whatever number kiss this really is since you got together. Instead, it feels like the 1000th. How you're able to tilt your head just so and fit together perfectly. This is entirely inappropriate for the two of you, of how you are just out on his sofa in the middle of a public room in his mother's house, but still your hand is slipping up the inside of his shirt anyway. His skin is so soft and warm, and for some reason you're allowed to find that out. Your hand moves to his hips and pauses there for a moment as Dave shuffles himself closer to you, nearly climbing into your lap in the process. As you kiss him, you let your hand move again and pay attention to the details. The curve in and out from his hip to his ribs, more pronounced than you might have expected, but still wonderfully available for you to run your hand over. You count his ribs as you move up, not that they're super pronounced or anything, you're just being diligent. Thorough, something excuse to have your hand up your boyfriend's shirt. You go over the first and shift to kiss the corner of his mouth. With the second, you change your path to his jaw. The third and fourth, you get to Dave's neck and a particularly wonderful whisper of your name. You go up again, and Dave's hands tighten on your stupid cloak thing. When you hit 6, Dave decides that he's going to participate in the kissing once more. And then also there's his arm in the way now, and also you're way more invested in feeling up parts of Dave that you're interested in, and not, his armpit. Dave has plastered himself to you and seems to be contemplating the benefits of just straight up getting into your lap. Something you're all for, to be honest. At least until a door bangs and Dave launches himself away from you onto the sofa, pulling his phone out at a speed that is so quick it's blinking you'll miss it. Roxy storms past both of you angrily, entirely oblivious to what you two had just been doing mere moments ago. After that, Rose stomps up the stairs, equally irate, and it's only when they're both gone that you and Dave dare to look at each other and immediately start giggling in sheer relief of not getting caught. You swear that the pair of you are so dumb, especially around each other. In fact, your proximity to one another makes you both progressively dumber. As much as you'd like to give Rose shit for her obvious thing with Kanaya and how flustered she gets over her, you know you have it just as bad. Dave takes you back to his room, and you end up talking about your basilisk homework, and he shows you his a ticking pseudo clock thing. What's really neat is that he's tethered it to the concept of time, obviously something that lends itself well to a pendulum. You've been habitually sticking to storms just because it's the first thing that you got to work, and you've had experience seeing their power. I use time a lot because it's everywhere, universal, Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. Plus, Soluk says it's my aspect, so I guess that lends itself well to me, he explains, rocking back in his computer chair as he talks. What did he say was mine again? Blood? You wonder aloud as you try to recall it. Yeah, he told me about it. Rose is light, Mom is void. Apparently those are opposites, which I guess explains why they clash a bunch with magic stuff sometimes. Dave nods. It's actually pretty interesting. What can I do with blood, though? Tether something to what? The beat of people's hearts across the globe? The movement of sap and plants, or whatever? Actually, that does sound like it could work, you say, the idea occurring as you try to dismiss the very concept. I was going to say that sounded pretty legit. You're also not just tying it to one person, so you're alright with it being reliable. I'm not sure if it's ethically sound to power a spell on just one person's pulse, but using it as a reference, like some kind of heart monitor, could be cool. Dave says thoughtfully. Yeah, you'd hate to power something with the energy of someone's pulse. Something like that should be using its energy for keeping a person alive. When you're pulling from everyone's, it's more the concept that you're using, but Dave has a point on its practical uses. I'm almost tempted to ask if you want me to make one for me for whatever catastrophe happens to me next. You snort. It could be helpful, but I wonder what range on that would be. I would also question if you have blood when you're in your ringy, eyebally, wingy form, Dave says with a vague wave of his hands, meant to allude to the shape of that form. I honestly have no idea about that. Solix would probably know more. Apparently, we didn't have the greatest first impression when we met each other before the event. He might know if I believed in that form. You shrug. Yeah, well, Dave pauses and looks at his bed, only for Solix to suddenly appear a foot above it and bounce face down onto it with a dramatic groan. Since you're sitting on the edge of said bed, he very nearly bounces you off and onto the floor. Solix groans dramatically, face down on the bed still. Dave scoots his desk chair over and sympathetically pets Solix's hair. Solix pushes himself up onto his elbows and sighs. I hate everyone, he declares. Well, shit, I thought it was special, you say flatly, only to be smacked in the arm with a two-spade tipped tail. It gets you right in your bare arm because your useless cape is flooded over your other side. You don't think you have anything against capes exactly, but this one is stupid, and really, capes should be over armor, not whatever fashion crime you're currently beholden to. Ow, you mutter and rub your bare arm. Do you know what I miss? You ask Dave. Feathers? Dave guesses. He still has feathers, you just can't see them, Solix says, muffled by the pillow that he's face down in still. Yeah, that. No, not the feathers. I miss sleeves. I miss my actual clothes, you complain. I know. I could lend you something of mine, or we could go out to the shop and buy some replacements. Solix has a car, Dave suggests. Not a red muscle car, by any chance, you ask, narrowing your eyes suspiciously at Solix, who rolls over onto his back to look at you. Yeah, did he tell you already? Dave asks. No, he did not. Solix looks wildly unburdened by guilt. He could have mentioned that he still had the card that you saw in your dream/memory thing. You don't need to buy clothes, Solix says. What are you suggesting? Just out of curiosity, Dave asks. What I mean is that those clothes are the clothes you were made with. It's like a God-given power from whatever god you happen to serve. They default to what you were made with, like mine, Solix explains, and his clothes shift to that black and yellow suit thing that you've seen him in before, and then back again before you can really take it in. You can still change them. This is all god-tier clothing. I wear other things too, but this is all me. You can summon them and take them off whenever you like and make them look like anything you want, Solix explains. And they go around my wings just fine, you say slowly. Well, obviously, Solix shrugs. You point your finger in his face, an inch from the tip of his nose, and glare at him. You let me go around shirtless after I got my wings without mentioning this? You let me look like this for ages without mentioning any of that? Why? You demand. I plead not guilty because of extenuating circumstances, Solix says. Are the extenuating circumstances shirtless Karkat by any chance? Dave asks. Yes, Solix answers him. I can't convict this man. He's used Karkat hot as a defense. It's bulletproof, Dave tells you solemnly. I'll forgive you if you tell me how to change them, you offer him. You're willing to cut a deal with this criminal. Just picture it really clearly in your mind. The feel of what you want, how it looks, all of that, Solix suggests. It sounds a little like just getting you to close your eyes and focus real hard on something dumb so they can laugh at you for it, but you'll try anyway. You imagine one of your generic plain black t-shirts that you got for cheap, then the far nicer and softer sweater over it that warms your neck and encases your bare arms in cozy heat. You make sure to imagine underwear and then one of your interchangeable similar pairs of gray jeans. Lastly, you try to focus on your regular shoes, but it's hard to hold that all in your mind. When you open your eyes, you're no longer in a strapless bodysuit with a dumb cape. Instead, you're dressed like a normal person. Huh, Dave asks thoughtfully, or says thoughtfully. What? You ask, worry something's gone wrong. Your shoes, Dave elaborates. You pull your foot up and look down and only see that, though at first glance your shoes appear normal, the illusion fades when you look at it more. They look like low-res knockoff versions of your normal shoes, all branding garbled into vague shapes, and the laces don't even work. The things are just strips that go across, no way can tighten a shoe at all. The first thing that popped in my mind is like AI art, right? Yeah, it's like a like if a piece of AI, like a fucking Midjourney, tried to make shoes. Carcat put him through a filter. Prompt was not clear. You lost focus. Try again with just them. Solix suggests. After another attempt, you have normal person shoes again. Alright, I suppose I can forgive you for now, you admit grudgingly. Aren't you an angel about things, all benevolent and shit? Solix scoffs at you and flops back on the bed. You experimentally get your wings out once more and find that they do indeed clip through your sweater with no problems at all. And then, because you're not all that angelic and forgiving, you drop one wing to the bed right on Solix, making him splutter and flail about. After that, you put them away again because you really don't have the room in here and you'd hate to damage any of Dave's things. So, are people giving you a bad time or hard time? Dave asks, shifting conversation back to whatever caused Solux to come in here so dramatically. Pfft, yeah, sort of. Solix blows a small feather off of his face. It's a little downy feather that's more of a halo of fluff than anything. How so? Dave presses him. I need information about something, and Red Glare's trying to investigate for me, but it's not going too well because losing another shard has upset things politically. Solix explains, clearly unhappy with having to say all of that. Are people not listening to you anymore or something? You ask him. Red Glare was warning him about that before, wasn't she? I'm not talking about it, Solix says defensively. Dave looks concerned, and you wonder if Solix feels weird talking about this with you here. You'd hope not. You'd hope he trusts you enough, but maybe there's a cultural baggage with admitting you're losing power and you're not grasping. I think I'm gonna go check on Rose, you announce and suddenly get up. Dave seems a little surprised at your sudden exit, but as you're crossing the threshold of his room, you can already hear him quietly talking to Solix again. You were probably right on the money there. Solix might tell you about it later. You hope so at least. You may as well actually do the thing you said you were doing. You head across to Rose's room. The door is shut, but you knock, and given that she seems pissed at her mother, you say who you are. Come in, or... Rose's voice trails off into a mumble after that you can't make out, but you caught that part that was permission. You let yourself in and step inside her room. Oh my gosh, excuse me. Sorry about that. It came on very suddenly. Okay. You let yourself inside, and step in her room. It's kind of messy as always, but it's a familiar kind of clutter. Close the door after you, Rose says. She's sat at her desk with her laptop open and staring unblinkingly at the screen with an intensity that is honestly a little unnerving. You do close the door after you and warily make your way over to her. What's up? You ask, shooting for casual. Rose turns around in her chair quite quickly and stares at you. Are you working on something? You guess, glancing at her screen. It seems to be full of weather data for some reason. Yes, I want to talk to you about... Actually, put a pin in that. I need to talk to you about something else, Rose says with a frown and pats the bed. She seems pretty concerned about something, so you settle down on the edge of her bed. It's covered in a knitted throw that's a lot nicer to be on now that you don't have any bird talons that get caught in the wool. Rose looks at you, at a loss for where to start, but eventually she does manage to start talking. You know I'm gay, right? Rose begins. No, really? I thought you were the straightest person ever to straight. All that you and Kanaya stuff was just gals being pals, you say as flatly as you can, pouring the sarcasm liberally over every letter of that sentence. Carcat, I'm being serious, Rose says with a frown. Obviously, I knew. You told me yourself. We've talked about it a bunch. Are you trying to say that's not the case? Or something else instead? Because if that's the case, then I get it. I don't even fully understand what label I have, and this stuff changes for people, you know. You shrug. No, it's definitely not changing. I'm very gay, very not interested in men in any way, shape, or form. Not at all, Rose tells you firmly. Alright. I already knew that, so I'm kind of confused as to why you're telling me again if it's not in question, you say slowly. Is she testing your memory or something? But you're alright with that, Rose presses. Completely. Did I say something or give you the impression that I wasn't? You ask in alarm. You can't imagine that you would have, but maybe she heard you say something sarcastic out of context. But even then, you can't think of an example, and you're hardly subtle with that. Besides, you're dating her twin brother and her male friend. It's not as if you're straight, is it? No, you've never said anything like that, Rose says. What? So, is there any reason we're having this quiz on shit we apparently both know and there's no problem with, or what? You ask. You're completely bewildered by this whole exchange. And you're not interested in me? Romantically? Rose asks. Whoa, no. No offense. Of course, you're great. You're pretty and funny and all that, but you're not. I mean, if you were a guy and more of a disaster, I would, but that's literally why I'm dating your twin brother. Not that you're not great, but we're friends, right? Oh, shit. Is this about that joke about us being married? It was only supposed to be a joke. I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable or anything. You stammer out in horror. Rose winces, probably as mortified by this whole exchange as you. No, it's fine. I find it funny too. I don't want to date you either, and I didn't think that you wanted to either. I just need to know that I'm gay and not romantically interested in you. Not that you said or did anything to make me worried about that or anything. It's not anything you said, Rose says quickly, and holds a hand up to stem the tide of your panicked babble. Are we still friends? You ask quietly, and Rose looks at you like you just wrenched on her heart. Of course we are. Sorry, this was stupid. I just worried that maybe friendship wasn't enough, and it's not as if I could or would progress to anything romantic. And I don't really know. I'm sorry. Rose mutters and looks away. You're my closest friend, you tell her softly. You can't really bear to look at her, so you look down at your imagined shoes instead. It's not like I've had any friends before I came to Salem, and obviously I'm dating Dave and Solux, and I know you shouldn't rank your friends or whatever. Petty high school shit, but I mean it. I'm really close to Kanaya because we work together, but if I had to pick someone who I was closest to, I'd say you. Maybe that's stupid. I've not known you all that long, and I'm sure you're closer to June or Solux from knowing them for so long, but it's true. I like our friendship, and I sure as hell don't want to do anything to fuck it up. You tell Rose, and also your shoes. You didn't do anything to fuck it up. Sorry, that's just a stupid idea. Solux is effectively family to me, and I'm not really used to being emotionally close to someone that I couldn't have romantic interest in, and at least theoretically. But you're happy with things are now, and you don't want more, Rose asks you weirdly. No, I can't even think how you could make something more than this. I was going to say without dating someone, but that idea kind of perpetuates the notion that you're not friends with people you date and that friendships are less meaningful, which is an idea that can go die in a fire because fuck that, you tell her hotly. That sort of bullshit is what leads to wedding cake toppers of brides dragging miserable grooms to the altar like, haha, I hate my wife/husband, as if that's in any way supposed to be normal. What about more allegiance, like Solux and Dave? Rose asks. Bold of you to assume that I actually get how that works. I can see it works for them, and I think I vaguely get it, in theory, but when I read about it, it just seems kind of odd. Not that I have a problem with it or anything. It clearly makes them happy, and it's sweet to see. I don't know. I guess I'm just not a demon, and I just don't get it. You shrug. Angels do that, Rose informs you. Well, too bad, because I remember sweet fuck all about being an angel, huh? I literally had to relearn flying, and I think we can both agree that I'm still not great at doing that. I can't even master basic motor skills of my species. There's no way I've worked out how to consciously do the emotional bullshit, too. If you wanted to be my Moirail, and if you were asking, I'd just say that I have no idea how to do that or what that entails in any practical sense at all. I'm certainly not here angrily pining for you in some romance way that I don't understand. Or maybe I am, and I'm oblivious. All I know is that you're my friend, and I like being your friend, and I'd sooner fly into a wind turbine than make you feel gross or uncomfortable about any of this, you say, and throw your hands up in the air. That's good to hear, I guess. I know demons have complex orientations and humans aren't really the same and so on, but I don't know. I guess I was worried I was giving you the wrong idea, or implying things I didn't mean to, leading you on pale ways, if that's a thing, Rose says with a helpless little shrug. Okay, well, first of all, I'm starting to get the idea that either Dave or Solux put this in your head, or started it at least, so just let me know which one of them I need to yell at. Second of all, and yes, Solux doesn't get to be the second point because I may be pissed at him for all of this, and if this was his fault. Even if you had been leading me on, or for Moirailship, or whatever, that wouldn't have entitled me to shit anyway. That argument is bullshit, and you're way too smart to make that kind of statement, you tell her. I know, I don't know. Rose mumbles and smooths out her skirt, trying to do something to distract herself, you guess. You know, but you don't know. So, clear. Look, alright, let's just agree that neither of us really get this whole Moirail thing, even though we've seen it in action, right? You ask. I feel bad admitting after so many years of living with them, but yes, I've not grown in a culture where it's shown, and I've only seen one example in person, so it's not exactly comprehensive. Rose agrees. And I don't remember my past, so no one knows anything. Also, I don't know if dating someone that way would matter for you being gay or not, but it seems like it's bothering you, and I don't want that. So, if the way things are at the moment is I'm happy with us being friends like we are now, and you are too, then we can just do that. And if things get weird or one of us is suddenly struck with weird ass yearnings for hugs, I don't know. I don't think my book was reliable. Whatever. We can just talk about it if something is a problem, alright? You suggest. Perhaps in a more tactful and coherent fashion than this conversation. Rose nods. Right. So we're still friends, you're still gay, I'm still whatever, no one gets the Moirail junk, and we can just go back to living our lives. If something changes, or if there's a problem, we can talk about it like adults. Seems fair? You suggest. It does. Yes, sorry, I feel incredibly dumb about all this now. Rose admits awkwardly. No, shut your face. Your feelings are important. You snap, making Rose laugh quietly for a moment. Right. I felt concerned because I didn't want to upset anything between us, and you're my friend, so I didn't want to hurt your feelings either. Also, don't be mad at Solux. He was genuinely trying to help, Rose says. You knew it was him, damn it. I don't think he'd do it maliciously, but Jesus, this was a mess. You grumble. I don't know. Perhaps if this was a movie for demons, they'd be shouting at the screen at how obvious this is, or what have you, but I'd sooner not think of it. At least, not now, Rose says with a little shrug. Fuck other people's expectations. Do what you want to do. Call things what you want to call them. Don't do shit because you're supposed to. You tell her with a defiance running through your veins. I get the feeling that sentiments like that might be why you weren't a very good angel. Too anti-authoritarian. Rose smiles. Hey, fuck the man. Or, metaphorically, if you're not inclined that way. You grin. I resent that. Women can be totalitarian leaders. Women can be gods. For all you remember, your god could be female, and everyone could be misgendering her due to them being misogynistic and generally terrible, Rose tells you. You're absolutely right. Fuck the man. Woman, power, whatever. Fuck everything, you declare, and fall backwards on Rose's bed, more emotionally exhausted than you were before. Well, alright then. Rose says. There's a quiet moment as you stare up at her skylight, not really taking in any details. Does this mean we can't make that joke about us being fake married anymore? You wonder aloud. You can pry that joke from my cold, dead hands, Rose tells you emphatically. Are you leaving it to me in your fake will? You ask. If you wanted it, you should have put that in our fake theoretical prenup. Too bad, Rose tuts. I know a fake lawyer who might help me, you muse. As far as you know, Terezi doesn't have any legal qualifications besides being a big fucking dragon, which does tend to stop people asking questions about things. I'm leaving everything to our beloved son. How dare you try to circumvent that? Rose gasped in faux horror. You get the feeling that the two of you are testing that things are still okay between you, but even if you hadn't guessed that, you wouldn't let an opportunity like that pass you by. If it's for our son, I suppose I can live with that. That poor child is the only thing holding this marriage together at this point, you sigh dramatically. The moment hangs just long enough to seem serious before the two of you start giggling at the same time, and it feels like a weight has been lifted off your chest. Rose smiles and puts her black-socked feet onto the bed next to you. They have little purple bats on them. There was actually something else I wanted to talk to you about, but it's a secret, okay? Rose says and leans back in her computer chair and steeples her fingers ominously. Very unsettling. Go for it. You nod. June knew that you were an angel. You didn't tell her, right? Rose asks. I didn't. I figured that kind of conversation would be better face-to-face. Mood over text can be hard, and I'd rather just talk to her and not overanalyze every okay she says to see if she means it or not. Besides, I'm not sure I can tell people if it's some sort of magical secret. I don't know how it works. Everyone else who's found out so far worked it out. I've not actually told anyone. You tell her. Well, see, I asked Solux if he told June before we talked to her, and he hotly denied it, and said he couldn't tell someone who didn't know, even if he wanted to. He hadn't been able to tell us, or you after all. Then when June spoke to us, she knew, and when I asked her how, she said Solix had told her, even though he just said that he hadn't. Rose explains. That's weird. I wonder if Solix was compelled to lie or something. Some weird clause in this secrecy spell, maybe? You guess. Maybe, or he's conspiring with June. Rose frowns. Conspiring with June? Really? The only thing those two would conspire on is dumb pranks, and you trail off as you remember something. What? Rose prompts you. Actually, me and Jade caught Solux talking to Latula, Redglare, and Matuna about demon stuff and the shards, but June was there too. They were all talking about it together. And then they saw through Jade's glamour, and June played it off and took Jade back to the cafeteria. You say slowly. See, that's suspicious as she could possibly. That's as suspicious as she could possibly be. And these weird men in suits took us out from the police station. Rose starts. Wait, weird dudes in identical suits, all with fake names that are like placeholder names? You ask, remembering the weirdos outside of Half Harley Manor all too well. Yes, there was a woman with them too, but they were all very generic and dull, if it wasn't for the fact that they all definitely blew up the police station. What's more, one of them had this pin on it with a wavy symbol, and I found the same symbol on a bunch of statues and religious paraphernalia inside Solux's void, and on top of that, when I tether the symbol to a spell, it works. It's a god, and June's dad had a bunch of similar men in her house worshipping what I can only assume is this god that's somehow not locked up with all the other gods, Rose exclaims. You frown and shift back on your bed as you try to think. So, Solux and June are collaborating on this shard thing that he's super concerned about. She also knows what I am without being told. She's connected to the shadowy organization and some god that's somehow free, you say as you try to arrange everything you just heard in your mind properly. Right. You can't tell me that's not suspicious, Rose insists. No, it's certainly weird as hell, but alright. Let's say that there's this god that's free, and maybe they're trying to lay low so Scratch doesn't realize that he's missed one or something. Gods need faith, so if people are followers and June's dad is important, it makes sense that their god would reward them as payment for that. Maybe what they were rewarded with was not losing their memory in the event. June knew my name when we first met, remember? Maybe we met before all of this, you reason. How else could she have known that if not? Rose frowns a little and leans back in her chair. She says silent for a few moments as she seemingly thinks your words over. That makes sense. I just don't think that's exactly it. I entirely believe that she knew you beforehand somehow, and maybe she didn't say what you were before for the same reason Solux didn't. That's fine, but why would she have met you? Rose asks. I don't know. I don't remember enough about my life to tell you what I usually got up to, besides the idea that it wasn't what I was probably supposed to be doing, you say with a shrug. Will you help me find out more about this god? Me and Kanaya have already worked out that he had a temple in Iceland, so he may well originate there. I want to find out who he is, and what June has to do with all of this, and why she couldn't just tell us. Please help, and don't tell Solux or June about it, Rose asks. Well, pleads. It's clearly important to her. Yeah, I'll help. I also kind of think keeping it a secret is a good idea, much as I normally think that keeping things from people is a bad idea. If Solux and June are in the know, then I would guess that the spell affects what they can say or do. We don't know if letting them in on what we know could cause bad effects or not. I don't want to get them in trouble or hurt them. I also don't think that June is part evil or some conspiracy either. She's our friend, and she's been your friend way longer, you point out. You don't want Rose isolating from her friends. That's a terrible idea. I don't like being kept in the dark. I don't trust people who hide things from me deliberately, Rose mutters. Solux does that sometimes, and he can't help it. You trust him though, right? You point out. Will you stop poking holes in my logic? Rose huffs and narrows her eyes at you. No, get better logic or deal with it. I'm saying I'll help, and I'm saying I'll keep it quiet as well. Just don't go all tinfoil hat on me here. Deal? You offer her. Fine, I'll agree to that, or at least I'll try. But this is suspicious. I'm not letting it go, and I will get to the bottom of it. But I can appreciate that part of my enthusiasm and vigor for this particular project might have been redirected frustrations from not being able to reach you, Rose admits grudgingly. That's probably the best you're going to get from her. She can be somewhat stubborn. Let me show you what I found in Iceland, Rose says eagerly and scoops up her laptop so she can sit next to you on the bed and show you everything she's dug up so far. Her research is really comprehensive, although you think you may be a little late in asking her to call off the tinfoil hat wearing. That point might have already passed. Rose fills you in on all the detailed research that she and Kanaya have done, and you offer to dig around the library for anything else related as soon as you get back to work. Eventually, Rose has told you everything she has researched about this, and the two of you end up in an endless spiral of YouTube videos on dumbass storm chasers. You guess you doze off at some point, worn out by your change of form and the emotional exhaustion of what you've been put through already this morning. You jolt awake when Rose comes back in the room with 2 mugs of tea, and you realize that somehow she switched herself out for a giant cat plush toy on her bed. No longer are you leaning on Rose's shoulder napping, but instead you're squishing the ear of what you think is the black cat from Sailor Moon. Sorry, I guessed I was more tired than I realized. You apologize. I will admit that I drifted off a little too. My sleep schedule has been thrown off a lot by my visions. I've been using the sun to see, Rose tells you and sets the mug on her desk. I also use the sun to see, because that's how eyes work, you tell her as straight-faced as you can. I guess both of these drinks are for me then, Rose says back. Of course, she doesn't drink your tea, and when you're both done, you take the mugs downstairs and decide on a whim to check out the Lalonde library again. The bookshelf Solix hit you with has been repaired, and though you'd never know anything was wrong, you still find yourself looking through the titles on it with a curiosity, though. Come on, we're going, Rose suddenly declares, looking in at you from where you'd been innocently inspecting the books in the formerly broken shelf. Going where? You ask. Home, Rose says. You look around Rose's actual house, and then back at her. Mission accomplished? No, our home, Salem. We're going to see what needs replacement in the dorm, Rose tells you and rolls her eyes. You got the immediate instinct to protest that she doesn't need to do this, but you doubt that Rose will listen to you, so it's probably just easiest you do what she says. Besides, it's not as if you don't want your stuff fixed. You hope that Abraxas is okay as well. Maybe you can find a new book to add to your collection to feed him as a way of making up for all those police officers throwing things in your room around and no doubt disturbing it. How are we getting there? You ask her, going for a question that's likely to get an actual answer. A puff of displaced faux apple air announces Solix's sudden arrival behind you well enough, but if it hadn't then him leaning over and talking right into your ear in a low voice would have. On your favorite ride, Solix all but purrs into your ear. In your dreams, you retort, elbowing him and turning around to glare at him. Regularly, yeah, let's go, Solix says brightly and walks out of the room past a slyly smiling Rose. As you pass her, you're tempted to point out to Rose that if the two of you were somehow pale dating or whatever it's called, then she wouldn't delight in Solix irritating you this much. But then again, you have seen Dave and Solix irritate each other for fun and laugh at each other's public embarrassment. Perhaps that doesn't really hold true. Best not to point it out. Solix leads you into the main room where Dave is sat on the floor by the coffee table, carefully fiddling with something. What are you doing? I thought you were ready to go, Rose asks. Yeah, I was. Then I sat down on the sofa and got mildly stabbed, Dave grumbles. Should I be more than mildly concerned? Solix asks. Mom's doing weird magic again. This is in the sofa cushions, Dave says and gets up, holds his hand out. Sat in his palm are a knight and a bishop from a chess set that appears to be stuck together. She's putting things together now. Normally she divides things, Rose says in surprise. They're magnetized, Dave says by way of explanation. You take the chess piece from his hand and try to separate them, but the more you try, the harder it gets until the two pieces snap back together so hard that you only just manage to not catch your fingers between them. Excuse me, let me take a little drink of water. Also, let me adjust my, oh my gosh, my head, there you go. Okay. Impressed that your mom managed to magnetize wood, something notoriously not magnetic, but there's more to it than that, and I can't make it all out. It's not all in demonic, Solix says and peers at the two pieces with his little eyes. Now that they're together again, you look at them more. This is... You frown as your dream comes back to you. This is like my dream. Your mom separated her queen into two pieces. These two pieces. I think... Rose, hold this one, you say, and hold out the stuck-together chess pieces to her, offering the bishop to her. She takes it so she's holding one, and you hold the other. Dave, you grab the other one, you tell him. Weird request, but I'm curious enough to be game for this, Dave says and steps closer. He reaches out and takes the knight piece where it's still stuck, and you let them go entirely. Oh, take them apart, Solix gasps. Dave and Rose share a look, but with a mutual shrug, they pull the two pieces apart. Only now, there's no resistance at all. Dave even opens his hand, so his little carved horse piece is just sitting there in his hand. Now swap, Solix insists, waving his hand at them. The twins swap pieces of instruction, and both react with surprise. It's kind of pulling a little, but not like before. It's way more subtle, Dave remarks. If I hold my hand flat, it moves almost like a compass needle. Is this like the spell Mom put on Karkat's feather? Rose wonders aloud, moving her hand this way and that so Dave's piece moves in her palm. It must be. What an unusual thing to do, though, you say in wonder. Cool. Free Rose tracking totem. Never know when you might need that handy, Dave says and tucks his bishop into his bag of holding. Rose seems to come to the same conclusion and puts hers away too. Actually, I think I might grab a scarf. One moment, Rose says and heads off to a cupboard near the front door. I'm gonna grab a coat too, Dave says and follows her. You take a moment and picture your second winter coat. You've only got 2 and you're pretty sure you left that one behind at Eridan's. You were only wearing that one because you abandoned your main coat at Kanaya's. God, you lost both of your coats from making a hasty retreat from bad situations at friends' houses. Not a good precedent. Still, you hold the mental image of the coats in your mind and feel it form on your body. This is really cool, you say in quiet wonder. It really is. One of the perks of not being from this plane of reality. Solix grins. Solix casually wanders to the gas fireplace and switches it off, which is sensible. If you're all out and it's just Roxy here, then it probably is wise not to just leave a fire on, to say nothing of the cost of fueling a fire for no purpose. He clicks the switch and the fire dies, but he doesn't leave right away. Solix pauses and then reaches into the glowing coals and pulls something out. Another chess piece, you guess based on the size of it. Stepping closer and looking at him, you can see that it is indeed a chess piece. The king, if you're not mistaken. Before you can ask about it, Solix crushes it in his palms and then scatters the ashes over the coal. Let's go, he says flatly and shakes his hand off. What the hell is that about? You look at the fireplace, but it's not giving you any answers. Not that Solix is likely to either at this point. Great, another mystery to add to the growing list. You hurry after Solix and find him at the front door with the twins. Without much fanfare, Solix teleports you, but you're not in the destroyed dorm that you saw before. Instead, you're in Dave and Solix's dorm room. Oops, habit. Sorry, Solix mutters. I'm sure the walk down the stairs will be fine. Come on, Rose says and gives him a reassuring pat on the arm. Thanks for taking us here, Dave says as you all go out of their dorm and into the hallway. It's fine, it's not a problem, Solix shrugs. Yeah, but you're not our personal taxi. I just wish I could repay the favor, you know, Dave says, and pulls their door shut after him. We're cool, don't worry about it, Solix tells him with a smile. Ugh, they're so cute together, you can't take it. Oh, no. Our collective coolness, not even an issue. Not so much as a footnote in anything. That's how much of a non-issue it is, because no one would question our collective coolness, Dave asserts. You share a look with Rose and go about ignoring Dave because not only are his words dumb, but you've heard something to this effect before. As you go down the stairs into your doorway, the pair of them are just going back and forth on this absurd bit about their coolness. Dumbasses. God, you have terrible taste in men, don't you? The door's locked, Rose says in surprise. Was it not before? Did the cops just really leave our place unlocked and open? Fuck. You hope that people weren't around much, because otherwise anything they didn't break would surely be stolen by now. Maybe the building noticed the door and fixed the lock, Dave suggests. Rose makes a thoughtful noise and takes the key out of her key ring. You groan, and the thought of all the keys that you're going to have to replace now. You're going to have to make a new dorm key. You don't care about your apartment in Georgia. That's the only key you have that you don't care about. Ugh, and your government-issued ID, your student ID. Why this? Rose turns the key in the lock and opens the door. She steps inside, and you actually run to the back of her as she freezes just inside. What? Rose says flatly as she stares in. You're every bit as stunned as she is. The place is pristine. Rose walks inside more, looking around, and you follow. Your little kitchen is tidy, with all the doors shut and nothing broken. The furniture is all upright and whole. Even the TV is back. Curiously, you make your way over, and you see it's brand new. The edges still have that plastic cling on them that it would have had in the box. There's even a tiny scrap of styrofoam stuck to the back from static electricity. This isn't our TV. This is new, you say in shock. The mug's been fixed, Rose whispers. Turning around, you see Rose holding the mug you got for her birthday in awe. Dave is peering at it too. It's been glued back together. Is he just here? He says and runs his finger over one spot. You hurry into your room and find that your room is just as clean and mended. Your bed is made, and on it is your bag of holding, your key ring, your phone, and its charm. No fucking way, you whisper, and then say it again far louder. You snatch up the phone and tap its screen. It's dead, but when you connect it onto the charger on the wall, you only have to wait a few seconds for it to boot up. A few more seconds and your phone comes alive with your background on it. Your passcode opens, and when you open your camera roll, your email, everything is the same. You hurriedly check that video of you speaking demonic and see it's in there, though you don't risk playing it with Solux around. This is absolutely your phone. You grab your keyring and put it on, and you find you can immediately draw out your key to this room and every other key you can think of. Your bag has your things in as well. This is all yours. Standing up, you look around your room. Your desk chair is different, and your desk looks like it's been repaired. The air smells faintly of wood glue as well, which is another clue that's been put back together or mended somehow. As you look over your books, you cringe to see that they're in the wrong order. You're just kneeling down in front of the stack on the floor when Rose sticks her head in your room. "It's all fixed in here too?" she asks as she looks around. "Yeah, and that's my stuff, my phone, my bag, everything," you exclaim, pointing at it. "But that must have been in the police station that blew up. How?" Rose trails off at an obvious loss. "No clue, but something tells me I don't have the cops to thank for this," you snort. "That's pretty unlikely," Rose agrees with a grimace. "Braxis," you call, turning back to your books and tapping on their spines. Your little worm friend peeks out from one of your favorite books and looks up at you. "Cartcat, you're back. I thought you might have been dead like the last man whose collection I lived in," Abraxas says, and your heart aches for the poor worm. You can't imagine how hard it must have been when Jake Harley didn't come back in the room ever again. "No, I'm back. Sorry if I scared you. I'll get a new book to make it up to you, yeah? Do you like that one? It's my favorite." You smile at it. "I do, actually. It's very interesting." Abraxas nods. "Okay, another book on time travel, then. Did you see who came in here and fixed everything after the cops took me away?" You ask and gesture to the pristine room. "A bunch of humans in suits. They took a long time putting everything back, but they didn't notice me," Abraxas answers. "People in suits? Oh no." You exchange a look with Rose and see that she has fire in her eyes. The mystery around here is only deepening, although this does suggest that the weird men in black aren't working against you. They were keeping an eye on the Half-Harley Manor, but that doesn't mean it was sinister. They rescued your friends from the police and erased what you can only assume was a lot of damning evidence against you, and now they've put your dorm back the way it was. In fact, you imagine they only knew about this place because June told them, or told her father, and he told them. So maybe there's this weird cult around a god that's escaped. It's not exactly a bad thing, right? Solix sticks his head into the room and looks around with both sets of eyes open and a suspicious frown on his face. "Nothing in here was fixed with magic either. This is really weird," he says. Abraxas says it was those suspicious men in suits who did it, Rose says, and watching Solix like a hawk. Solix seems genuinely surprised by that information. "Is that your bag?" he asks, pointing to it. "Yeah, I got it back. I got everything back." You nod. What? That's great, but what the hell?" Solix says. "I know, right? I wish I knew who those men in black are so I could thank them. The ones Abraxas saw, I mean. Not to be confused for Will Smith, greatest and most attractive actor the world has ever seen," you say. From the next room, you hear the TV suddenly come on and then turn off. "Whoever did this didn't know how to set up an audio system, but it's working now. Also, I hear someone egregiously mispronouncing Justin Timberlake in there." Dave's voice drifts over to you. "Fuck you, no," you retort. "Solix, you are attracted to men. Am I too gay for this, or is this every bit as absurd as it seems to be?" Rose asks. "No, they both just have terrible taste," Solix says solemnly, and both you and Dave protest loudly at the same time, although him in defense of the far inferior Justin Timberlake. Your dumb argument continues for a bit before naturally tapering off, with Dave sitting on your bed as Solix snoops around the place, checking that nothing magically suspicious has been hidden in your dorm. "You know, if it wasn't for the fact that Abraxas saw who did this, I'd almost think it was Kanaya who put your place back together. She really felt bad about what happened with the two of you, and she and Rose have been talking a lot," Dave tells you, continuing the sibling tradition of ratting your sibling out on their crush. "For one thing, Kanaya is a vampire. She cannot enter a space uninvited, so that wouldn't even have worked. I'm going to go check on the rest of our mugs to see if they've been broken and subsequently repaired," Rose says, and immediately walks off. That isn't in a casual way, despite how she was obviously intending for it to come off as. "Oh, she has it bad. She used to get on my case about you," Dave says with a soft laugh and a shake of his head. Part of you wants to investigate that statement, but thinking about Kanaya leads you in a different direction. I should tell Kanaya about this, you say and get onto the bed with Dave. Your phone is still charging, but if you leave it plugged in, you can message her anyway. Hi, Kanaya. Oh, Carcat, hello. I assumed you are back to normal now. For what passes as normal for me, yeah. Rose and Solix and Dave actually took me back to Salem so we could see my dorm. We wanted to see the damage because the cops had really torn into the place. Yes, Rose told me about that at the time, and I am very sorry to hear about it. If you need help reupholstering anything, or even just a hand with cleaning up, me and my mother would be more than happy to help. Well, that's really nice of you, but actually a bunch of those guys in suits apparently broke in here and fixed everything. They even got my things back from the cops somehow. You lead a very strange life. Don't I fucking know it. Actually, would you still be interested in meeting up? I know that my mother wants to talk to you to apologize in person. Perhaps somewhere you would feel comfortable, such as the noodle bar near the library. They do bubble tea, which I am quite fond of, and I am told the noodles are nice. Sure. Oh, invite the rest of us. I cannot go living without seeing Rose being awkward around her crush, with said crush's terrifying vampire mom there. Dave urges you with an evil glee. You raise a good point. I'd also like backup in the event that Kanaya's mother decides to turn me into a kebab again. Or is it kebab? The one you stab. You nod. I would absolutely try to protect you. The person with the strongest magical shield known to man. I also want noodles, and to embarrass my sister. So, Dave says flatly. I keep forgetting that's a thing I can do. You mumble, and go back to messaging Kanaya. Actually, would it be alright if I brought the others with me? I feel a little rude ditching them as they took me all the way here, and we're going to pay to replace my stuff. Also, Dave is desperate for noodles. Were those his exact words? Tell her I'm horny for noodles. Tell her I lay awake at night lusting after the thought of noodles. Dave urges you. On behalf of humanity, I'm revoking your talking privileges. I am absolutely not telling her that. You groan. Dude, you're not even human. Dave pouts. Consider it a divine judgment, then, you mutter. You're no fun, Dave tuts. I'm the president and CEO of fun. I'm so much fun that I'm in the process of suing Disney because any place that I am legally, that I am is legally the happiest place on earth. That's how much fun I am. I'm still not going to tell Kanaya how much you want noodles on the ranking scale of sexual interest, Dave. I won't do it. You retort. I'd love to go to Disney. You know how much I'm into the tacky, ironic shit, and there's stuff with that. It'd be on my bucket list of things to do for sure, Dave says wistfully. You make a noise of vague agreement and return to messaging Kanaya as Dave hums what you think is the music to It's a Small World After All under his breath. More or less, I will spare you his exact words. You're welcome for that. Besides, I'm sure you'll want to see Rose in person. I saw how much you two were messaging each other. I am certain that I do not know what you mean. We could meet there in half an hour if that suits you. That'd be great. I'll go tell the others. See you there, then. I'm gonna go update the others, you tell Dave, shuffling off the bed, leaving your phone there to keep charging. Noodles, Dave says with an enthusiasm that's just... no. As you step towards the door, you can hear Solix's voice. It's low and he's clearly trying to be quiet, but he's getting louder every so often. Can't be right. I would have known about this, Solix insists. You watch as he paces a little, his free hand massaging his temple as he holds his phone to his ear. The bathroom door is shut, so you can only assume that Rose is in there. No, I know I asked you to look, but... Right, I'm just saying that whoever this has to be, or that this has to be Kurlaz's creation, and not... Solix pauses, presumably listening to whoever is on the other end of the phone. Dave joins you in the doorway, shooting a concerned look at his Moirel as he paces about. There's no way in hell that the fucking Prince of Hell himself made another person and I didn't know about it. Yes, I know how secretive he was. I had to live with that lunatic. Given the name, don't you think it's way more likely that Kurlaz made him on the sly and fucked about with the record so Matuna or Latula wouldn't... I'm not telling you how to do your job. There's just no way that's right. I would have known. Yeah, he was. Solix squeezes his eyes shut and stands there listening for a moment. Yeah, show me what you have in person. I'll be right there, Solix says and hangs up. Problem? Dave asks, and Solix looks around sharply. Yeah, I'm just trying to work how much of a problem. I gotta go. I don't know when I'll be back, but you can stay here or report back to Roxy's if you need to, right? I really need to figure this out, Solix says quietly. What's going on? Can we help at all? You've done so much to help me. If I can help you out in return, I'd be more willing to do so, you offer. It's hell politics, and I'm trying to unpick the psychology of my maker's batshit insane maker. Not really something you can do anything about. And thanks for the offer, I guess, but I'm not going to parade an angel around a bunch of demons trained to kill your kind. I'd prefer you alive, Solix says and shakes his head. You say the sweetest things. You snort. Message me when you get a moment, so I know you're okay. This doesn't sound like regular politics, so I'm kind of worried here. Dave says, sure, I'll do that. I'll be back when I can. Solux nods, and like that, he's gone. You can tell Dave is concerned. The lightheartedness from earlier is gone. More noodles for you, I guess, you say a little weakly, trying to bring the mood back. But at what cost? The monkey's paw curls another finger today. Dave says a little less cheerfully than before, but he's trying. The two of you sit down on the sofa, and after a few minutes, Rose comes out of the bathroom with eyeliner so sharp it could stab a man. Were you just in there playing with makeup? Dave asks her. First of all, I wasn't playing with it. Some of my makeup got broken when the police came in here, and these people just replaced it all. That's not cheap, and it's all the real thing. Where's Solux? Rose asks and looks around the room. He's not here, Dave tells her. No, I can see that. The observation on my part was what prompted the question to his location. Keep up, Rose shoots back. He had some serious demon stuff going on and had to leave to deal with. He doesn't know when he'll get back. But we're all gonna go meet up with Kanaya and her mother, so we should probably get going, you tell her and stand up. You don't want to be late after all. Rose certainly seems like she doesn't want to be late and wants to be presentable as possible. You catch her fussing with her hair and artfully arranging her scarf on the way to the noodle place. When you arrive, you spot Dolorosa at the table on her own. As you come closer, you see Kanaya up at the counter. She perks up as you get closer, seemingly sensing your presence, and looks up at you wide-eyed. Carcat, she says, seemingly startled. You hope Kanaya didn't bring her here without telling her you were coming too. I really must apologize. This is her. I really must apologize for what I did, for how I reacted. I never should have attacked you like that. It was completely wrong of me, she says before you can get a word out. What? No, absolutely not, you tell her and pull a chair out. I don't remember anything much about what I am or where I'm from, but so far I've met three other people who are the same species as me, and all three of them were... Yeah, your reaction was entirely fair. You snore and sit down, having to work around the word angel in earshot of people that don't know. What? That's not the response I expected, she admits. I've kind of come to terms that my people aren't exactly the good guys from your point of view, and I'd just come back with you and your daughter, so I knew where she lived, and it was an enclosed space with both of you. Frankly, I'm sorry for whatever experience with my kind you've had before. You apologize. You don't think that Cancre was physically dangerous to anyone like Cronus or Aridin seemingly were, but you wouldn't wish his brand of self-esteem and sanity-ruining talk on anyone. I'll go get food and drink, Rose says smoothly and glides away to the counter where Kanaya just happens to be. Oh, shit, sorry, right. This is Dave, we're dating, that's his sister, and my roommate, Rose, you say hurriedly. That's Rose. Oh, I should have guessed. I've heard a lot about her. Dolorosa, no. Porum smiles slyly and looks over at her daughter, who has spotted Rose, and the two of them are now in deep conversation. Hi. Yeah, hi and all. Glad you didn't kill my boyfriend. You know, he only just recently found out what he was, right? He wasn't lying to Kanaya or anything, Dave adds, taking a seat next to you and staring Porum down through his shades. It feels strangely protective and very sweet. What are you planning now to do that you know? Or what are you planning now that you do know? Porum asks. Well, for a start, I don't think I can tell anyone what I am. There's this weird spell keeping it a secret. I could show people, but I'm aware that ends badly. Not that I've hurt anyone that way. Besides, I don't want to go around getting involved in all that, you tell her. With all that, Porum repeats. You know, religion. You shrug. Isn't that somewhat your field, though? She asks. Oh, fuck that, you say on instinct, and then realize you just swore in front of Kanaya's mother. Sorry, excuse my language. You apologize quickly. Darling, I am far too old, and can speak far too many languages to give a single shit about cursing, Porum says flatly, and next to you, Dave poorly disguises a startled laugh as a cough. Sorry all the same, you apologize again anyway. But on the subject of religion, you were saying? She trails off meaningfully and waits expectantly for your answer. I don't know, it's not something I've even considered. I'm sure not all churches are bad, but a lot of them sure as hell are. There's a Catholic church in town, and that place is decked out in valuable stuff, and there's people sleeping rough in Salem. Not to mention all the shit that Catholic priests have been caught doing. Or if you don't want to pick on that denomination, there's those mega churches that demand all these tithings and shit, and use it to buy private planes, or the ones that put people through conversion therapy, or you stall out so angry that you can hardly find the words. All I'm saying is that if I show up as proof that their side is back, even though that's not the case, then how is that going to change things? What if people get hurt because of that? Or they demand that I act as some sort of spokesperson for them? I don't want that. I don't know what I'm going to do after I graduate, but I want to try to help people, not spark some holy conflict or anything. This whole thing is a mess. You sigh. Rose and Kanaya return to the table with drinks in hand. They'll call our number when food is ready. Did we interrupt something? Rose asks, looking between you and Dolorosa. Karkat was just giving his thoughts on organized religion. You know, like you do with people you barely know. Dave tells her brightly. Rose looks mildly concerned, but Kanaya looks far more so as she glances between you and her mother. Parm is just looking at you with a strange expression on her face, but after a few long moments she speaks. You remind me of my son, Parm says quietly. I didn't know you had a brother, Rose says to Kanaya before you can silently indicate that she shouldn't say that very thing. He's dead, Parm says bluntly. Rose's face freezes in an expression of utter mortification, rivaled only by her first conversation with Kanaya. I said so, didn't I? He's always helping people at the library. He gets so comically furious at people being terrible. Karkat's just like him, or with a little more shouting at least. Kanaya agrees with a bittersweet smile. She sits down and slides one drink on her mother and keeps the other for herself. Yes, I can see that. What is in that? Parm asks, frowning at Kanaya's drink. It's bubble tea, Kanaya answers evasively. That's not an answer, her mother points out. It's boba. It's made from... Don't look at me like that, Kanaya mumbles, glancing away. It looks like food. It'll make you sick, Parm warns her. Actually, through trial and error, I've worked out exactly how much I can consume without becoming too unwell at all, Kanaya protests. But you will at least be somewhat unwell, though. You admit that much, Parm says, the disapproval clear on her face. Oh, this is like those people who are lactose intolerant, but they still eat ice cream or cheese pizza anyway, you say as the light dawns on you. In fairness, it's an entirely understandable decision, Dave nods, letting you know full well that he would also be that dumb. Kanaya pointedly sips on her drink, and then very visibly bites into one of the bubble things with her sharp fangs. Rose's face goes through several very interesting expressions that you'll be gracious enough not to comment on right now. When your order number is called, Rose hurries off to get your food, and you figure you'd better help her, or else she's going to be carrying three people's food alone. I am so mortified, Rose whines quietly as you reach her side of the counter where they give her the food over. You didn't know. They seem fine about it, you reassure her. And what about you? Being told that you remind your friend of their dead brother has got to be weird, Rose asks, shooting a look at you. The person behind the counter hands you the food over, and you let Rose hand you 2 of the bowls as she gathers the last one, and the other things like napkins and salt and the like. I'm pretty sure they mean it as a nice thing. I've never noticed Kanaya being put off by me, so I guess I don't look like the guy. He must have just also been mad about people being dicks, which is entirely understandable. That should piss everyone off. Now I'm getting vaguely mad about the mere concept of people being terrible, you tell her as you feel the scowl forming on your face. I find myself perpetually amazed at how you can be so nice and so sweet to people sometimes, but so filled with the tiny fury the rest of the time. I know I've described you as aggressively nice before, but I think it's the best term for you, Rose says as the 2 of you walk back to the table. No, but it makes sense, you insist, and set the bowl of noodles down the table. People have all this potential to be good and kind to each other, and they fuck it up by making things worse. I know situations can be complicated, sometimes people have bad days, and I'm sure shit not perfect, but just don't be an asshole. How hard is that? Maybe don't cold call people to scam and defraud them. Maybe don't abuse your position of authority. Maybe don't kick the shit out of people just because you can. It's not fucking brain surgery. Kanaya and her mother exchange a knowing look with each other, and you get the feeling of whatever resemblance you have to their departed family member. You just reminded them again. I can't believe I missed the beginning of another Vantrum, Dave sighs. A what? You ask. A Vantis tantrum, obviously, Kanaya says and sips at her bubble tea again. Hey, she gets it, Dave grins. The 3 of you decide on who is getting which dish, as Rose didn't ask either of you what you wanted when she went up to order, presumably because all she was thinking about at the time was Kanaya. All the same, you're not a massively fussy eater, and it seems that Dave is pretty easy to please as well, so all 3 of you end up happy with what you get. So, you say as you snap your chopsticks apart and look at Kanaya, can you help me convince Miss Paint to let me back into the library again to work? Well, we were worried about you reacting badly to the death of that family member, Kanaya says uncertainly. You know what he was, because you know what I am, and trust me, he sucked. Sure, it's a little complicated, but I'm over it. I just want to come back. Please. You beg. Alright then. Kanaya smiles slyly. Fuck yeah. A Christmas miracle. And a chapter. Bada bring, bada boom. Oh my goodness. That was a fun chapter. We got a lot. Oh my goodness. Yippee. Yippee yippee. Oh my goodness. A fun little chapter start of the week. Indeed. Indeed, indeed. And I'm very excited for tomorrow's chapter. Tomorrow's chapter is Honeybee. Oh, I'm excited for tomorrow's chapter. Just gonna be a fun one. I earlier today when I was supposed to be writing the summary, I ended up like skimming and reading the next like 5 chapters. I just kept going. I was like, shit, I need to stop and actually do what I was supposed to do and write the summary. But yeah, fun chapter. We got some stuff about Bros and whatever the fuck's going on with June and the conspiracy theory and all the sort of stuff. I'm very excited. Yeah. So I probably won't stick around for too long after stream because I gotta get stuff done. But that's everything. As usual, we will be back tomorrow. Same time, 9 p.m. EST. And tomorrow we will be doing... Wait, is Honeybee next chapter? Yes, it is. Yeah. We will be doing chapter 27 tomorrow. I'm so excited to have caught another stream since I got to share my theories and chat and hear your infos. Aw, thank you, Rose. I would, I have been reading your theories, and I won't comment on any of them because I don't want to confirm or deny anything. But I am deeply enjoying whenever people put theories in the chat. I love it so much. It's my favorite thing. It's my absolute favorite thing. So, I just note that I am deeply enjoying them and spinning them around in my head. We will do the next chapter tomorrow. And yeah, and then I'll be chapter 27. Bobbing my room. So thank you guys all for joining me tonight. It was a very, very lovely stream. And yeah, I hope you all have a lovely rest of your night. And that'll be me saying bye. Goodbye, guys. Good night. Good night. Have a lovely night. Bye-bye.